Welcome to the September 10th, 2024 regular meeting of the City of Troy Planning Commission. Copies of the agenda for tonight's meeting are available at the entrance to the room. Agendas and minutes of prior meetings are available on the city website. The meeting will be conducted in accordance with the agenda as presented or amended by the Planning Commission.
State law establishes planning commissions. This planning commission is comprised of 9 residents appointed to serve our community. Members are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by City Council. Other individuals participating in the meeting include representatives of the city's planning department, city attorney's office, and the city's planning consultant, Carlisle Wortman Associates.
If you wish to address the Planning Commission, please come forward to the lectern when recognized and clearly print your name and address on the sign-in sheet. Please begin your remarks by stating your name for the benefit of the commissioners. All remarks are to be addressed to the Planning Commission and not to anyone else in the room. If you have a cell phone or any other device that might disrupt this meeting, please switch it to silent or turn it off. At this time, I ask the Planning Commission Recording Secretary, Kathy Zarnicki, to conduct the roll call.
Mr. Biegner?
Here.
Mr. Faison?
Here.
Mr. Fox?
Here.
Mr. Hudson?
Here.
Mr. Krent?
Here.
Mr. Lambert?
Here.
Ms. Malala
Here.
Ms. Parakis?
Here.
Mr. Tagle?
Here.
Quorum present, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next up is the approval of tonight's agenda. Would anyone like to make a motion? Mr. Fox, seconded by Mr. Faison. I think we're ready.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krent?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Malala
Yes.
Ms. Parakis?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Mr. Biegner?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next up is the approval of the minutes from our August 27th, 2024 meeting. Mr. Lambert, and seconded by Ms. Malala. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, I think we're ready for the vote.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krent?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Malala
Yes.
Ms. Parakis?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Mr. Biegner?
Abstain.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next is public comment for items that are not on the agenda tonight. If anyone's here to talk about something that is not on tonight's agenda, please come forward. Okay, seeing nobody, we're going to move on to item 5, which is our planned unit development, PUD 21 JPLN 2024-0012. It's the proposed Somerset West Concept Development Plan, north side of Big Beaver, west side of Coolidge, 3100 West Big Beaver, PIN 88-20-19-476-002, 88-20-19-476-03, and -04. Section 19, presently zoned PUD, Planned Unit Development, Zoning District. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Carlisle.
Yes. Thank you, and good evening, Planning Commission and the public. The city has received an application from the Forbes Frankel team to redevelop the former Kmart headquarters. Obviously, this is a transformative project on Big Beaver, and one that many of us here in the city have been waiting a number of years to see and come to fruition. The city has been working with the applicant for some time. However, we were waiting for the timing of the public disclosure of what the anchor tenant was going to be, which is Michigan Medical. So that's why it has taken a little bit of time to get in front of you tonight. But we have been working with the applicant with regards to the application. We do note that the site is controlled by PUD. It was commonly referred to as the Pavilions PUD. However, that PUD has expired. However, it is worth noting that the application in front of you tonight is very similar with both scale, scope, uses, density, etc., to what was previously approved on this site. However, as I noted, that PUD has expired, but the site is still controlled by PUD zoning, and so the applicant is seeking to amend that zoning. And as an amended PUD, the Planning Commission is a recommending body with regards to the PUD that's ultimately considered by the Planning Commission. I'm sorry, by the City Council. The applicant is tonight before you just to introduce the project. There will be no formal action taken by the Planning Commission. However, they are seeking feedback from this commission with regards to the application before they submit a formal concept plan for your review. Now, normally I would give a much more detailed overview of the project and kind of lay it out. However, we think because of the nature of the project and the scale, that it was more important for the applicant to lay out what their vision is for the redevelopment of this site. So with that, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending that we allow Mr. Forbes and his team to present the project, and they will take questions from you after the presentation. So with that, I would like to call up Mr. Forbes to introduce the project to the Planning Commission.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. Come on up.
Good evening. It's been a long journey, I'll tell you. I think the first time I was in this chambers goes back to 1988 when we joined forces with Frankel and Associates to develop Somerset South. And for those of you that were here long enough to remember, Bonwit Teller used to anchor the other end of that shopping center in a one-level mall. Bonwit Teller went into bankruptcy. We had a deal for Neiman Marcus to go in the back of the shopping center. Bonwit Teller goes into bankruptcy. Neiman Marcus calls me on a Saturday and he says, Nate, he says, we got to buy that Bonwit building. He says, we don't want to be in the back of the center. We want to be up on Big Beaver. And I said, well, you're going to be in the shopping center either way. He says, no, we got to be on the gateway to the city of Troy. And I never forgot that. And that's why I get teared up when I think about this. That's why it's been 17 years that we've been sitting on that piece before we came before this group. Because there's been nothing that's come across our desk that has really served and would serve this property and this asset and this community properly. We have nurtured this development for 35 years. We've invested tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars. Our operating budget every year just to maintain Somerset runs over $20 million to keep that center clean, to keep it free of kiosks and clutter on the common areas, to make sure we protect the community at large and our consumers and our guests with the great Troy Police Department that serves as a wonderful partner to the Somerset Collection. Through our nurturing and the partnership with the City of Troy, we have developed a shopping center that ranks arguably in the top 10 in the United States of America. We have about 45% of our stores are their only stores in the state of Michigan. So when you talk about shopping epics and shopping dynamics, we are one and only between Chicago and New York for shopping destinations, something we should all be very proud of. Whether it's a major event coming to the city of Troy or a convention or other things, our team, part of which is back here, goes to great lengths and great time and energy to make sure Somerset is in every conversation. It's a centerpiece of every event. The NFL draft, we had all the draftees and their families. We did events at Somerset. We're always promoting Somerset in the community. And it's something that we live and breathe every single day. So number one, I want to apologize to this group for being 17 years. Kind of gets me in the gut. We've paid taxes on the property. We've kept it clean. We kept security on it. But for the first time, we're bringing something forward that we think has some merit and has some value to the community. We cannot mess this up. This is the gateway to our city, our collective city, and it has to be worthy of being the gateway to the city. We are the bridge from the western suburbs of Bloomfield Hills, West Bloomfield, Bingham Farms, Birmingham, Beverly Hills, and everything to the west. And we are the bridge to the commercial development that exists on the Big Beaver corridor east of us. We are not interested in creating density for the sake of creating density. We're not interested in maximizing every square foot of development on that piece that we could. We have spent a lot of time to create a public realm on this property that will serve the community well and serve as a buffer to our retail partners to the east and our residential partners to the west. And that's what we're going to begin to share with you, that thought process today. I have been talking to the University of Michigan for over 6 years. University of Michigan has one of the top medical facilities up in Ann Arbor in the United States of America. If you look at any one of the reports, they're anywhere between 8th and 12th medical facilities, medical practices, medical research centers in the United States of America. They do see over 200,000 people from Oakland County up in Ann Arbor every year, somewhere between 150 and 200,000 a year. Yet they don't have a facility east of 275. And I used to always tell them that you do all the hard work. You make the investment in research. You make the investment in your brick and mortar up in Ann Arbor. You do all the hard diagnosis, and then you're giving away the medical practices, medical clinics, the treatment centers, the rehabilitation centers, the outpatient surgery centers, to the likes of the hospital network systems that service the peripheral of Oakland County. You need to have a brand in the center of Oakland County, and there's nothing stronger than that Block M. And the Block M will not only service this development, the Block M is going to spur development up and down the Big Beaver corridor. The residual effect of what a 230 to 250,000 square foot, $250 million investment is going to be as the centerpiece and the anchor of this development is going to serve this community well for many years to come, and they are great partners. So with that, thank you for indulging me in a little bit of background where we've come from, kind of where we're at, and we're proud to work with you and try to get to the ultimate solution that'll serve this community well. So we're going to take a look at what is commonly referred to as Somerset West. It's 40 acres split by Cunningham Drive. We're going to focus on the 28 acres to the south. The larger parcel in the middle of that page is parcel 2A, 7.28 acres. That is the piece of land that we are selling to the University of Michigan. That is the piece of land that they will be building a 4 or 5 story medical facility of approximately 230 to 250,000 square feet with parking deck that will support approximately 1,400 cars that will have an entrance attached to each level of the medical facility. So whatever level of the facility your appointment's on, they will have that deck that will come up. It will meet the building with a generous drop-off and a very customer-welcoming, customer-friendly drop-off point as part of their facility. The remaining parcels that service or support that will take many different shapes and forms over the years, but we're going to show you a little bit of a concept rendering tonight in the lines of what we are thinking of. The important thing to note about this parcel is everything you see in gray is our road network system. So we will be putting in all the infrastructure for this entire development as part of the first phase. The entire road system will be going in as part of phase 1. All the utilities to these different parcels will be going in as part of phase 1. And we are right now working very diligent to build as many of these parcels concurrent with the University of Michigan development as we can. We talk about public realm. We spent a lot of time before we got into what we're going to put on this property and how can we benefit the community. Let's talk about the walkability. Let's talk about the interfacing public spaces, the connectivity of our uses, the connectivity from Big Beaver to University of Michigan. And we focused on 4 big nodes. 3 of them are in east-west, what we call an east-west connection points. And at the bottom of the page where number 1 is, that is the right-of-way on Big Beaver where the sidewalk is today. And we will begin to enhance that sidewalk with a generous setback on our property side and create a great buffer which will have alleys to look into this beautiful development of the east-west connection. So it'll encourage pedestrian traffic, whether it's by bike or by pedestrian foot traffic, to use that Big Beaver sidewalk to be able to traverse Big Beaver, whether they're going to Somerset or Sheffield office building or coming from the residences to the west. The second node, and you'll see some renderings of it, will tie together a couple of our uses front door. This is a very generous public realm that is a wide walkway that has nodes all along the pathway for people to sit, enjoy fountains. There'll be benches and rest areas. These retail F&B operations, they'll probably all be food and beverage. We'll have outdoor seating that'll spill onto this piazza with a beautiful fountain, beautiful public spaces, and that'll all intersect with the north-south node, which you see on the page as number 3, that will intersect from Big Beaver Road, go north as a wide pedestrian walkway, and tie into the U of M drop-off on the south side of their building. And to enhance that a little further, you'll see this depiction, and you see everything in dark brown is hardscape, some type of paver material that will begin to denote and the connectivity of the east-west pedestrian walkways with the north-south connector from Big Beaver back to the front of the U of M facility. So we are focusing and paying a lot of attention to our public spaces. will have close to an acre, if not a little over an acre, split into 2 parks that will front the University of Michigan Medical Facility. This begins to show you some semblance of residential, retail, food and beverage, either hotel or condominium for sale units on the southeast corner, the U of M facility acting as the anchor with the medical office parking in the back. And then this kind of depicts what this would look like at scale. So you can start to see all of the connection, the east-west connections on the public realm side coming, number 1, along Big Beaver. Number 2, from this retail use in front of our food and beverage, outdoor seating areas, public spaces coming all the way into our residential or hotel project that will tie to a front door with a very generous drop-off area. Number 3, from Big Beaver, wide pedestrian walkway back to University of Michigan drop-off. And then number 4, from our residential projects across the parks, transversing in front of U of M, connecting back to residential in this area here. So that begins to show you in scale what this looks like. This would be from across the street at Troy Place, looking north, down that pedestrian walkway, energizing these spaces, making there a need and drawing the public to come here, to eat at the restaurants, to spill out onto the sidewalks, to walk to a gourmet market. If they live here, obviously the residential community, the residential people that live in the vertical units above will love their ability to be able to park their car once and then have a walkable community that is not too over-densified, but every use on this piece has got to be meaningful. This shows it at a little bigger scale from above, the generous width of the walkways, the alley of trees that create the sight lines, and the shade and the shadow of the site create the buffer of all the hardscape to the softscape. This gets you down at the ground level on that same walkway looking back to the U of M facility. Restaurants will have outdoor patios, 1 level, possibly 2 level, possibly some creative office spaces above the 1 level restaurants. As we begin to work through all the machinations of tying this together in a seamless development that really has a creation of sense of place without overdoing the development. And this is at the ground floor, what U of M will look like as you approach it from a pedestrian standpoint. If you were between the restaurants, looking back at the University of Michigan Health Facility, these are concepts only. This is not their design. We had an hour call today. They're making great progress on their schematic design package. They've hired their team and they're working on it every day, but this is concept only. But this will give you an idea of what that scale will feel like. Very humanized, and this is one of the 2 parks with the walkway splitting one of the 2 parks looking back at one of the residential projects. Very soft, very engaging. Some imagery in terms of just kind of the scale and the nature, creating materials, and the whole idea we want to do. And I had a call with our architectural team yesterday, and they, what's your intent on the architecture? And U of M also wanted to know. What we want to do is we want to pay an ode to Somerset and kind of the Saarinen architecture and design, but contemporize it. That was 35 years ago. Saarinen's been around for a long, long time at Cranbrook, and that's where we got our inspiration for Somerset. So I don't want to ignore that. I don't want to be too tricky and too kitschy, but we want to pay an ode to Saarinen, pay an ode to Somerset, an ode to Cranbrook, and we want to contemporize the materials, contemporize the aspects of the building to really speak to the modern day and the current consumer that we're dealing, and their lifestyles that we're dealing with today. So these are just imageries from places we travel to all the time to get inspiration from, and really taking our time to make sure that we do the right job from a brick and mortar standpoint, from a public realm standpoint, from a landscape and amenity standpoint, and from a use standpoint. And that's what we have to share with the team today. So thank you for allowing me to present to you.
Thank you very much for being here. This is a long-awaited project, and I'm sure a lot of people are tuned in to listen today. So I also want to thank you for coming for feedback before you actually come with a plan, because I think it's really helpful for us to hear what you're proposing, and for us to be able to have the opportunity to ask questions, maybe give suggestions or concerns that we may have. So thanks for that. We really appreciate your time.
Welcome.
All right, I'm going to just go ahead and open it up if that's fine with you, and we'll start asking questions.
Great.
Go ahead, Mr. Buechner.
I'm blessed to be from this area. I grew up at Somerset. My kids grew up at Somerset. My grandkids are going to grow up at this place. Great speech, nice presentation. I'm just you said everything right. Love that you're taking your time to do it right. I live nearby. I love what you're doing here. I like where you're coming from. I can't say anything remotely even the middle of negative, because it's good stuff. My one question is timeline. Obviously, it's hard to tell in this future, but what's the idea?
we spent a lot of time on that. Our goal today, as we stand here today, we want to be in the ground next summer. So I don't know whether that's June, or Rob Peters may kill me, but it's probably more like August, September of next
Nothing's
year.
hold. It's just, I'm just trying to get it. Is it a how many year project to create
We'd like to be open 3 years from today,
Fantastic.
with the
Great.
majority of this.
Great presentation. If you've ever been planning, obviously you've done your homework. Great walkability, great green space, fantastic presentation. My colleagues will say different, probably similar things, but it's more than an A+ for me. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Faison?
Thank you. Echo everything Mr. Buechner said. Great presentation. I had two questions. You mentioned the architecture, and I think, my words, not yours, the desire to create some consistency with Somerset, and then I assume within the site itself. And I was just curious, is that within your control, or is that going to be, the final architecture going to be driven by the hotel developer, the residential developer?
So
et
we're going to
cetera?
build, my company, we're going to build everything that surrounds the University of Michigan. We're going to be the owners and landlords of all of the developments except the Michigan Medical Facility.
Oh, you're going to own?
We're going to own and develop them, yeah. Right now, by the way.
That's why you have the control.
That's why we have the control, yeah. And our company right now is I don't know if any of you know, we're in the ground right now on about 1,000 multifamily residential units in and around the area. We just opened Apex in West Bloomfield. We're doing the one in Birmingham that is on Adams and Haynes Road in downtown Birmingham. Just opened one Woodview up in Ann Arbor. So we're doing a lot of multifamily projects today.
Mm-hmm.
So our company will be doing all the retail along Big Beaver. So we'll have great control over architecture, maintenance, and everything. I wouldn't let this go in someone else's hands.
Excellent. That's a great answer from my perspective. And the second question, do you know the size of the residential buildings? You mentioned the U of M building would be 4 to 5 stories.
Yes, I think everything here, right now, everything will be in the for rent building will probably be stick built, so would be probably 5 stories. And the only thing that might be a little bit taller is if we do a for sale condo building or a hotel. That could be in the 7 to 9 story range.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hudson?
It's an exciting project. 3 of us on this commission tonight, we're here with the original proposal of the pavilions. We were enthralled with it. And you're right on the money with this one. But that first project had with it residential. Can you speak a little more to the residential portion of this project?
Sure. So right now, we're working on 2 buildings. This building here would be and if you see what we just opened up in West Bloomfield, would be a highly designed, highly amenitized. Now, when I say highly amenitized, in West Bloomfield at Apex, and anytime anybody wants a tour, I'll be happy to take you. It is 212 units. And if you go down Orchard Lake Road, it's between 14 and 15 Mile Road, right next to the Cawley dealership. Just opened, we just delivered units in August. Parking is it's on a podium. The amenity deck is 17,000 feet with pool lawn, Adirondack chairs, fire pits, barbecues. It's a 17,000-foot amenity deck. And what fronts the amenity deck is a 3,500 square foot gym where the door walls all open up onto the amenity deck. We have a co-working space that's about 3,000 feet, broken into about 6 or 7 different offices and a conference room. So our residences can use the conference room for Zoom calls or any meetings that they might have. So we have co-working. We have an unbelievable workout facility, great amenity deck, and then we have 4 or 5 conference rooms that are built with 2 TVs, couches, and they are booked out every night with a test kitchen. And we have the local restaurants. We have Plum Market, who's a half a mile away from the Apex. Kidding. They didn't catch it. Who's a half a mile away from Apex, comes over and does wine tasting and food demonstrations. So these are all the curations and the highly amenitized type of things that residences are looking for today. So we want to build something here that kind of sets the market for Troy and that takes rental properties up to the next level.
You said there was
Wonderful.
a second building? Where's the second building?
So the second building, so this building here is going to be broken up. Right now, we're looking at 2 things. Possible hotel. We just got our hotel study back. And Troy hotel market is just really, really tough for a full-service luxury lifestyle hotel. So we're analyzing that, and if we don't do that, this will end up being we've also laid it out for a 55 to 65 unit, high-end, for-sale condo building to the likes that this city has not seen yet. And it will also be a raised amenity deck that would be up on a podium and that would share, we'd have additional rental units here, maybe some type of branded residences that might be branded a name as opposed to just calling it the name of the building. So we are right now have meetings and working through all these aspects. And they're in layout and they're in schematic design, and we will follow one of these directions over the next 180 days. It'll all come clear as to where we need to go. Out front here, these will probably be broken up into 3 or 4 pads. There'll be food and beverage operations, all new to the market. Some will be 1 level, some will be 2. The ones that are 1, we're considering doing creative office space up on 2. We'll have parking to support the food and beverage. This retail use over here will probably be a gourmet market. We are working with one right now very closely that will service not only this development, but the Troy area here. The closest one of that level would be on 15 Mile and Coolidge, which is Whole Foods. So this will be great for the local residential market in this area. And then we're going to tie it all together. We want it to be a place people come, they either get dropped off, they can walk, they can sit outside, there'll be fire pits going, there'll be places to sit, have drinks, be entertained, and then the residences will also have those food and beverage options and a gourmet market by which to shop on a daily basis.
Thank you. Mr. Fox?
Yeah, I guess just take a second to echo some of what my colleagues have said, but just the mixed use, the residential, the amenities, the walkability. I mean, it's all absolutely fantastic. So I think somebody mentioned earlier, you guys definitely did your homework and you did a great job of like hitting on those points that we really are interested in and look for as a commission. I had 2 questions. First off, I understand the parking deck will be servicing specifically the medical center, which is great. I love parking decks because they're a great way to, maximize your parking without, taking up too much space. I am curious with the 2 corner lots that you currently have set aside on the north end of the property for parking lots.
Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit to the decision to leave those as like single story like asphalt or
So we show them because we don't plan on those being part of phase 1.
Oh, okay.
They will ultimately be developed, and there is very strong conversation that U of M will need that for expansion.
Okay,
So-
all right, that is exciting.
They
All
have
right.
a little bit of time to figure out, and those are their 2 expansion pads.
Okay, I definitely like the sound of that over parking lots, so that
They
is
will not be parking
very-
long-term.
very much appreciate that clarification. The other thing I was curious about, and I know you're talking about a couple of different ways to do the housing in the different the residential properties that you guys are offering. Given the proximity to a medical office, have you guys thought about potentially doing senior-focused housing so that folks have easy access to a medical center or anything of that nature?
Yeah, we've talked to a few senior housing developers, and the challenge with senior housing, it takes up more land than we want to give up. You don't get the density. A lot of them are horizontal spread versus some level of verticality builds, 1 or 2 stories. And it just didn't feel, and just didn't feel like for the first phase that was the direction we wanted to take it.
Okay, I appreciate it. It would be very interesting to see if it was possible down the line. So I guess just plant that seed in your head as possible as it comes up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lambert.
Mr. Forbes, it's good to see you again.
Dave, you're the only recognizable face
You look
and
exactly the
I look
same.
the same, thanks. I wake up every day, I can't move.
I was on city council in 2007 when the Pavilions project was approved, and I think that you've done a great job here at creating a similar type of a site, other than the medical center, which obviously wasn't part of the Pavilions. 2 concerns I have, and you might agree with me on these concerns. One is, have you looked at some kind of a pedestrian connection between Somerset North and Somerset West? Because we live in Michigan, and 8 months of the year we get lousy weather. So some kind of a walkway similar to what you do with North and South?
We have.
Okay.
And it's not out of the realm of possibility. So we've studied many different things, and we even talked to Nordstrom's about connecting through their store, which they turned down in about 2 seconds. I'm not sure why, but it was a very short conversation. And then the other part of it is, the only other place to really connect is through the parking deck, which is right here. And then if you make that connection through the deck, and we're still studying it, Dave. It's because we don't show it up here, doesn't mean it'll never be done. Where do you start it? Where do you terminate it? How many cars is it really servicing, right? Because you got to connect it on the 3rd level of the deck. And then once you get past 100 feet and you're walking across aisles of parking, how many cars and how many pedestrians and how many people are you really servicing? The one great thing about the Somerset Skywalk, it hits at the midpoint of Somerset South and Somerset North. It is on, right at so the symmetry's perfect. You're aggregating everybody on every level, and it's all coming to the middle. So when you lay it out, and we spent a lot of time looking at it, and I could show you some renderings that you would say, oh my God, I've got to have that. Like, we designed it like the High Line in New York. But, so I wouldn't say never, just not tonight. That I don't want to present something that we wouldn't do.
The other question is, and my guess is you'll probably agree with me too, and kind of as a follow-up to Mr. Fox, about the surface parking. I had a conversation with a city official earlier today, who shall remain nameless, who said that there might be some kind of state subsidies in order to convert that surface parking into underground parking. Is that something that you've looked at, or that might be a possibility to explore?
I'm not aware of state subsidies available for underground parking.
You just mentioned some kind of a program that would incentivize you to put underground parking in, so.
Listen, I would love to be able to put underground parking, one of 2 places on here that we've looked at, but I'm not aware of any state subsidy.
Okay.
We're out of the DDA right now, this site. I'm not aware of any subsidy that's available to the developer that would help subsidize. Underground parking today is probably running around $60,000 a stall.
Okay, great, thank you.
Ms. Malala Holly.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes, for that wonderful presentation. And if you hear me cough occasionally, I'm just getting rid of this bad cough. I love what you have here. And this is my vision of a PUD, which has all these different mixed uses all coming together, But my one thing when I looked at it and how inspiring it is for our Troy residents and for the future, that it will always be there, whether it is 2030 or 2,300, you know, that kind of a project that I would like to see this be, and it will become that. But when I looked at all the renderings, and I've been taking a good look at all of them, I just wanted to ask your thoughts on whether the parking, the surface parking that you have there, is that still, do you think it is still very essential, necessary for your project? Can we make this into a more lively, a promenade-like setting, a central gateway-like setting, a place where people can hang out, whether it is afternoon, evening, nighttime, or early morning hours, maybe an outdoor yoga setting because you have the healthcare facility right there, residential people coming out, something where we don't see that asphalt but have a gathering space.
So we have two of them. And they're, I think, a total of an acre, maybe a little more, one on either side of the University of Michigan Medical Facility. A big pedestrian area here. This represents only about, how many parking spaces are there, Rob? 100 per pad. The only way to get rid of surface parking would be to take it into parking decks. We certainly didn't want to put any parking above grade along Big Beaver. You know, in decks, you still have to get runways to get ramps up them to get to the upper levels. So it becomes a challenge. We have to be able to service these restaurants and this retail use. We've minimized the parking the best we can. We don't meet the parking requirements with this surface parking. So we tuck a lot of the requirements under these podium buildings. So all the sides of these buildings will front as finished brick and mortar. And then you'll have entrances into the deck. So you won't see the decks from the interior portion of this development. And we're using these podiums to meet our parking requirements for some of the other developments. So I hear what you're saying. We are going to look to maximize these two park areas to the best we can. And then, of course, enhance all these public realm spaces. These are generous spaces. And when we come back, I can blow these up for you. These are big, big spaces.
Because your renderings are absolutely beautiful. Those ideas that you have there, low-level tables with dogs being walked and people sitting around. I mean, I envision this to be that. Because it's such a wanting for this community. And I just personally feel, and I'm just going to throw it, because I just want you to kind of look into that feel that we want to create. For me, I envision the space to be a 24/7 usable space, to be honest, with all those low-level solar lighting or lighting that consumes less energy and at the same time keeps it well lit, kind of an area, maybe low-ground fountains that you have. I mean, there is so much that people do, and you walk amidst that, and it creates a glorious atmosphere.
And that's the idea with the, as we talk about this whole public realm spine, that's really the idea with this east-west. And next time we come, we'll have this all further developed. But these parks, if you look at what the size of these are, this park is just one side of the U of M, and the same thing exists. It's a mirror image on the other side of the building. So there's two of these, and they're each about 6/10 of an acre. And then that's going to tie in all of our east-west and north-south public realm. And we are continuing right now to develop our hardscape program and plan. And I think when you see them in the next iteration, you'll see we've dedicated a lot of acreage and a lot of space to this site to public realm. I mean, there is a lot of, we break it out on the chart, you'll see how much land has been dedicated for public realm.
Okay, cool. No, it's
and we will
beautiful.
continue to study that. It's just as important to us and for our renters and our buyers and because people come to the University of Michigan Medical Facility, I'm bringing my wife for a procedure or an appointment, I'm dropping her off. What am I going to do for 3 hours?
That's
I want to go read a book. I want to go to the market, sit outside there. They got a whole outdoor thing planned there. I mean, we're really going to make sure that this thing is an all-day, energized, public gathering space that just doesn't service this development, but really has a bigger draw to it.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad we're on the same track.
Mr. Krent?
Hi, Nate. My name is
Hi.
Tom Krent. Couple quick ideas. One, I noticed that that central walkway constricts at that central point. That was probably to get the right parking in.
Yep, let me take a look. Which one? Oops, sorry.
Next one.
Which way do you want me to go? Let's see.
It was the plan view that showed the walkways.
This one?
Keep going, one more. Well, I guess that's it. So you start with a grand, I don't know how wide that is, but let's say it's 100-foot wide, that walkway off of Big Beaver.
Yep.
And then it constricts down to, I don't know, what would that be? Maybe 50 feet?
What is that, Rob? You know?
It's probably about 40, 50 feet wide.
Okay.
Include the green space.
Yeah.
So like Ms. Malahali was saying, excuse me,
That's okay.
is there something we can do with that zone, that area that's not so, it's like constricted compared to the rest? The rest is so open and big and,
So you know what our thought process was? If we want to encourage gathering spots here and along this spine with the restaurants, here and these two parks and here. So if you have gathering spots everywhere,
oh no, I don't want a gathering spot there. But
Yeah.
I'm just wondering why it was constricted because of the parking necessity for the
to
space.
get the parking in, and we'll blow this up at large scale, but I think that's 50 feet wide
Okay.
for a pedestrian walkway.
Okay, so the other parking that's not shown here, you said there's these areas like underneath those swimming pools by the
Yeah, yeah. So those are podiums.
podiums, okay.
Yep.
So that looks raised. I can see those two pools,
Yep.
looks raised above.
The amenity
ground.
deck is raised and the parking's beneath it, so you
Beneath
don't see it.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a really nice solution. I like that. The other thought I have, what is the Michigan Medical Center going to be? Is it going to be like a hospital, or is it going to be special treatments for cancer or heart attacks, or what's going in
So
there?
they haven't announced it yet, but they'll have several different disciplines. So they'll have an orthopedic and rehab center. They'll have a urology department. They'll have, it's clinicians that will practice out of this facility. There will be 4 or 5 outpatient ORs on the main floor. But it's not an overnight stay hospital.
Okay.
It's a
That's what I
medical
wanted to know. Okay.
practice.
Good to
So
know.
if you go to a U of M doctor, you want to go to a U of M doctor, and you want to go see a cardiologist, you'd go here instead of trying to wait 6 months to get up in Ann Arbor.
Got it.
You want to go to a U of M orthopedic doctor and go to their great rehab facility, you'd go here instead of waiting a year to go try to get in up in Ann Arbor.
Well, thanks for having that there, because now I can walk to that. So I'm getting old, so I might need that center. But the other thought, I'd like to take you up on that Apex thing. Maybe other people on the commission
For
would
sure.
like to tour. But I'd like to see how many commissioners would like to tour that.
So if I'm allowed, we have our opening this Thursday. We have all of our local West Bloomfield people, our lenders and everything coming to a grand opening. If I'm allowed, I'd love to send everybody an invitation. And if you can join us on Wednesday, I think it's from Thursday of this week, 4 o'clock.
Okay.
If anybody can make it, it's up on the amenity deck, it's outdoors. There'll be City of West Bloomfield people, there'll be our, just our, general opening thing. So if we can send that along, who should I send it to? Brent?
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
Maybe you can pass it along. Be a great time to see it, because it'll be really, really, and by the way, our leasing is just, it's been unbelievable. The interesting thing that we learned there, and I'm really excited for you to see it, because the amenities, you got to think of it, it's a rental apartment building. It is so nice that we are, the units that rented first, we are sold out on our penthouses, 3 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, gone. And I was shocked, because we have a lot of 1 pluses. We call them one pluses, one bedrooms plus a generous living space, and then they all have their own office, and they're really, really built out well. But the larger units are the ones that have been leasing the fastest, are in our highest price units, which is, so our idea, just like it has been with Somerset over the years, isn't to compete with what else exists in town. It's to elevate that experience, and we call it the aspirational experience. And you know, I always tell our leasing people the Gap customer today is the Gucci customer of tomorrow. And we have to nurture that person all the way through their life. And we got to give them everything that they're looking for when they're 22, just getting out of school, and that's that 900 square foot studio for $1,750 a month. And we also have to have something for them when maybe that they just got relocated from, you know, Nashville, Tennessee, and they're bringing one child and they're here for a 2-year stint working for one of the OEMs. And you can have, we have balconies on every unit. We have walkouts onto the amenity deck, and they're all surrounded by beautiful planters, so you have your own outdoor space. It's really, really a unique development.
Sounds great, thanks.
Mr. Tagle.
You've done your homework, you've done a good job. Question for you, have you gotten into the level of study for the infrastructure, the traffic that's going to be created by the development with the traffic that we're seeing at Somerset and generally on Big Beaver, east and west?
Yeah. So our traffic consultant has met with the city, how many times? 2 or 3?
2 or 3 at least.
2 or 3 times at least. So we have, we are evaluating, obviously, the amendment of the PUD. We have not changed any density on this plan. We just flipped uses. We went less retail and a little more office because of the Michigan thing. So our peak demands get better. Our overall counts from when this was done on the Pavilions PUD, our density has not changed. And I always go back to, I've been here since the beginning, so I was here when Kmart had 4,200 or 4,300 employees here. And, the peak, it was all peak traffic. It was all peak in and peak out. And when you have renters and condominium owners and medical, it's just an ebb and flow of traffic. Traffic, quite frankly, we're doing it and we're doing our work and we'll do all the improvements needed. It's the least of my worries.
Yeah, what's your initial feedback from the meeting, the city and the consultant?
Initial is there's some decel lane work that will need to be done, which we're talking about that. We'll enhance whatever turn lanes or decel lanes need to be added. But this infrastructure around here and the counts that are on Big Beaver and Coolidge today with what we're adding isn't going to cause much of a failing grade anywhere. I don't know if you have any comment on that, Ben or Brent.
Based on my understanding, when it comes to attending the traffic study meeting, I'm the dumbest guy in the meeting. I mean, I'll freely admit it, but so far it seems to be going in the right direction. Parking seems to be going in the right direction. The good news is the diverging diamond interchange, the one that everyone who drives through it for the first time says, it actually moves traffic more effectively. So that was a bit of a choke point at one point, but that's been improved. But I agree with what Mr. Forbes says. I think we're in good shape, and he got ahead of the game. We've been meeting for a number of months now, and we're not, he got ahead of it to start the conversations before he came to the Planning Commission. So we're going to be in good shape, and traffic is going to move effectively, and it's going to park. That's the goal, that's the requirement, and that's what we've got to get to.
And I think the biggest part of that is that the U of M facility, all the parking's in the rear right off of Cunningham. So there'll be direct access off of Cunningham right into that deck. So they will not have to make a lot of turns. They won't have to use the internal road system at all. And it'll be right off of Cunningham. And today, Cunningham never gets used. I take it every day to the morning. I say never. It's not a major thoroughfare because there's nothing on the site. So.
Right. Just the other comment, and I'm not sure you've studied it, but maybe Ms. Mahalahali had said something about the large asphalt surface parking in there. Have you considered, and I understand the cost involved with underground parking, but have you considered putting a story up and having a green space up elevated so that your parking is still at grade, but you're up a story, and connect that to some of the retail connections that you're going to have out front?
So we have not done that here. We've not looked at that on this center two. Obviously, we're doing podiums.
Right.
20, I think they're both about 25,000 feet with parking below, and these will all be green. And that's why you need to come see Apex, because this podium sits up about 25 feet. And it is just enhanced with about a $3.5–4 million amenity package that'll knock your socks off for an elevated green space.
I suspect you may have some pushback from U of M because you're starting to cut down their visibility up your alley?
No,
Up your view lane?
they've approved all this plan. I mean, they got great
No,
visibility.
I'm saying if you were to
Oh,
elevate that.
yeah. Oh, right in front here. Yeah. Oh, that would be a real problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Mr. Wiegner.
Two more questions. Do you see this being the center of Troy?
I see the center of Troy moving down this way. But if you're asking me off the record, what do I think? That's why my son Andrew's here. I think this is going to set, this in Somerset is just going to rise all ships. And the next thing I'll be in front of you on is Troy Place, Sheffield. And this whole area's got to be, it's got to be elevated.
That's
Those
fantastic.
are 45 to 55-year-old buildings.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask you, so
Don't tell them I said that.
the parcel to the north, the parcel to the west, and the parcel to the south on the other side of 16 Mile.
Yeah.
And some of that might not be in your control, some of it you might not be able to talk about, but
So we're partners in Troy Place, that whole development. We're one-third partner there, and so once we get this set, we're going to be looking on south of Big Beaver. So we will have all four corners to make sure that, I mean, this is going to be your future, and we got to leave it in good hands.
my other comment is you might have to change it from green space to blue space. Well done.
Okay, so leaves me. Everyone's spoken, so I'm gonna weigh in a little bit now too. First of all, thank you for being here again. Really impressive presentation. Love what I'm seeing overall. I do have a couple questions first. What are the hours basically that the University of Michigan complex is going to be running? I know you said it's outpatient surgery. I didn't quite catch if there's an ER that's part of it.
No ER.
No ER, okay. So what kind of hours are they?
You know, that's a great question. If it's consistent with how they operate some of the others, I think it's 7:30 or 8 in the morning till 5 or 5:30.
Okay, so basic business hours.
It's business hours. yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
This might be a question for Brent, but in terms of the traffic studies, did I misunderstand? I mean, you're not using traffic studies from 17 years ago. when it
No,
was
we've
at the village.
redone all of
Got
our
it.
traffic. We've met with the city traffic people.
Got it.
To corroborate on our numbers, our parking counts, our loads, everything, uses, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So my biggest comment on the project is the surface parking lot. You've already heard it before, but what I'd like for you to consider is making that the center that draws in people, that makes it sort of a destination. You've got all of this retail, restaurants, the fountains and the seating and the cool spaces, but at the end of the day, there's this parking lot that just sticks right in the middle. Even if you were to take the center, there's another image that you have, no, sort of, it's an aerial vision, but where you show the parking. And I was just thinking if you could just, that one, even if you took the center square and turned that into a grassy area that connected the sides. I know it shrinks your parking a lot, but it sort of connects the north and south by a huge space, because we're talking about thousands of people, hundreds that are living there. There's condominiums, there's maybe a hotel, there's visitors all day long, every day. I know you're saying that those spaces are large and they're an acre, but I'm talking about even bigger, so the people who live there can come and take a walk in a grassy area and not through a parking lot.
Let me ask you a question. Would
Yeah.
you rather see this area squared off here to create a large gathering spot, or would you rather see this park extended out to this curb line here?
I actually wanted that whole square.
Oh, this whole square?
Yeah. Or, well, the whole square, but if you can't do the whole square, you see how it curves in? That huge block. Yeah,
Yes.
up, over. So basically, those 2 rows of parking,
Yeah.
that whole area. I'm talking about a huge area because we are talking about thousands of people. And in the big scheme of things, you're not really giving up a lot of parking because you have so many other areas of parking. Now, I had another idea, but it doesn't seem like it will work after everything I've heard tonight with your presentation. But the other idea would have been to flip your Michigan Medical and have it front on Cunningham, and have people enter and have the parking garage be where Michigan Medical is now, and have that first floor 360 be
Yeah.
retail and shops.
Yeah, we
And-
actually tried that with them, but
Oh, with them?
they want that Block M prominent and visible on Big Beaver, and they want that whole facade to be a beacon for their facility.
Okay. I mean,
We talked about it early on with them.
yeah, because that would bring your parking more center, so then you didn't need that surface lot at all.
Right.
And I don't know, I just think that it could be retweaked a little bit. But I really do feel strongly about having, that parking in the center, to me, is too much surface parking. We're trying to get away from it, and especially in a complex like this.
By the way, there's very little surface parking on this plan, very little. I know you don't like where that's located.
It's the location.
I know.
It's front and center. Everything, we're talking about people hanging out and doing Pilates and all that, all these fountains. But imagine if that whole area were like that. It would really liven up the space, and it would create more of a destination for all of Troy. So I'd like to see a little bit of.
Thought given around this space. yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
fair enough.
And maybe, I don't know, put the M big. I mean, no one's going to see the M on
They're not going to turn the facility.
Big Beaver. No one's looking down an alley and seeing
No,
it.
but they're not going to they're not going to flip it.
They're not going to flip
No.
it. So you
That
look at
won't
the
happen.
video.
One other
That's what I'm
thought.
saying.
So we're talking about using the park areas that you do have. Are there any thought to giving any kind of food vendors coming in on special events or weekends or something like that?
Yeah, if you see some of our renderings, the whole idea with these public realm spaces was to be able to do food carts on weekends or events. If we had concerts or whatever, they pull up on the curb and they serve during the day, and you energize that whole space. But we're going to study this a little further in here.
Yeah, that would be where your concerts are and your
Yeah.
food trucks and your
Yeah.
space. It would really create much more of a block of an area where people would be throwing a Frisbee. I mean, the sky's the limit, what you could do in that huge open space. So I'd love to see you consider that. I do think there's enough parking on the sides. Obviously, you can keep some, handicap or people who are doing food pickup. For sure, you can have some parking, some.
Just remember, we don't need any parking. Strike parking from the conversation.
Or even going up on the parking deck in the back. But I think if people are coming to stay, they're willing to walk from the parking deck to the retail,
Yeah, for sure.
for sure. Mr. Buechner.
Again, I grew up in this spot. The amount of parking that's there right now is about 10 times the amount of that. I agree with what they're saying. It would be nice to have a little bit more in there, but the amount of parking you guys have there is so much less than every other property of any size anywhere in Troy. So I hear what you're saying, and I agree. I'd love to have a little bit more, but
Well, let us do some
You've got the
overlays.
Titanic, and you're looking at this is beautiful. This is wonderful. I love it.
I actually drove over there today yesterday, and, because it said somewhere in our packet that you had removed the parking lot, and I thought, no way. And I went and I looked through the gate, and I couldn't believe it. You guys had dug up the parking lot.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's ready to go.
It's gone.
Yeah. Well, Holly?
Thank you. Since this is going to be seen as a gateway for Troy, not that we don't have, we want to create a newer gateway for Troy. Have you considered any kind of art for this location, something to beautify our city, because we hardly have art, floating art exhibits, inviting local artists or visiting artists, showcasing something where my idea is to get people out
Yeah.
and they don't necessarily have to come to shop. They don't necessarily have to come to sit in a restaurant. This could be a nice space for social gathering purposes, because Troy, essentially, technically, we don't really have a downtown, although we do consider Big Beaver as our downtown, but this will add that ambiance to that location and spot.
So you've been through Somerset, you see all the art we have inside of Somerset. So our public spaces here will have outdoor sculptures. We don't have it on this plan, we haven't gotten that far into it. Even if you come by Apex, we put a very, very expensive sculpture. It's probably 15 feet high. I mean, it's on a major plinth right at the front door. So there will be art in public spaces as part of this development. I can rest assure you that. That is part of our ethos.
And if I may just add to all the conversations about the central parking space that we've been having, off late, I have been digging up images as we see new projects come along, where people in other cities have been breaking up. And I'm talking about not just United States, I'm talking about any country across the world where some big projects are happening. I'm seeing how they're breaking up the parking spaces. Although parking is needed and it is essential, they're also trying to break it up. And there are some nice designs that have come out. I'm sure you've had a chance to look at some of them, where it is a large parking space, but by the looks of it, you can hardly tell because of how they have broken it up with shady trees, with protected areas, with larger island spaces that they have created. Anything that kind of just not has this asphalt showing up so much on the.
We will do a whole study on this center area and look at ways to minimize, increase public space. And we have been fighting this a lot.
Yeah.
I know we have requirements with the city. Underground, we had a whole solution to go underground, but it was a great solution, but it's, you're building a bathtub in the ground for 250 spaces. I mean, it's hard to make the economics work sometimes. And we've been at this so long, and I can only tell you, like, economically, this project, an out-of-state developer that didn't have as much at stake with what we have at Somerset, they wouldn't embark on this because these are costly. These developments are huge. These raised amenity decks with parking underneath and these podium developments. But this is what needs to be done. And we've been here for 30 years and we're going to be here for another 50 years. So we got to do the right thing. So we are willing to forego, an economic type of real estate deal to do the right thing. So we will make sure that we really study this area and look at where we can disperse the parking to try to minimize it the best we can. The restaurants are going to require some parking within a certain proximity. We have to maintain that, but let us keep working on it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Would you consider eliminating some of those entrances off Big Beaver and having the primary entrance be off Cunningham and then entering from a different side? Is particularly if you're going to be eliminating some of that parking in the center.
You're saying eliminating these drives?
Yeah, yep, that one and that one. You have two plus Cunningham. So people are coming really fast down Big Beaver, and I imagine there's going to be deceleration lanes, but maybe just think about it when you're redoing that center
Okay.
space.
Haven't thought about it.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Lambert.
This is a follow-up to the art question. I don't know if you're interested or not, but the city has the old Kmart head in storage. I don't know if you're interested in putting that on the site.
I said the same thing.
As an
Asked if they could take the head
Does
back.
it really?
to the Kmart. Kind of a
Who gave it to you?
We bought it.
The what?
You actually paid for it?
I think it was donated.
It was probably donated.
Yeah, I think it was.
I don't know, but yes, we have it. It used to be right over here, but they moved it. It's gone.
I'd like to see it.
So, I don't know.
You remember what it looks like,
Yeah.
right? Do you want to scare your customers away with that?
So, I don't know if I'm
Yeah, Mr. Fox.
I don't know if I'm going to show my young age here. What are you guys talking about with a Kmart head? Oh my God. I have no clue what you're referencing.
Tyler, you know what a blue light specialist?
Yes.
What is it?
Blue lights, it's a sale, they market with blue lights, and I thought that was Kmart.
It's Kmart.
Okay.
Let me bring your attention to aisle 4, and there's a blue light special on diapers.
Okay,
I mean,
yep.
And then everybody runs to the blue light special.
Where does the head come in? I'll figure it out. I'll
Hang on.
Google
We'll talk
it.
later.
Google it later,
Here,
yeah.
just Google it. Just Google it. It comes up.
I'll give it a Google.
All right, does anyone else have any questions, comments, suggestions for Mr. Forbes? This was a really amazing opportunity to be able to hear you come in and share your vision, and it's really exciting for all of us in the city, and I'm sure there's a ton of people tuned in, watching, and we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You going to watch the debate while you're all here, or are you going to go home?
We're going to wrap up quick and run home.
By the way, thanks. It's good to be back in our old stomping grounds. And Dave, I remember being in front of you in a lot of years. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We are moving on to a preliminary site plan review. It's SPJPLN 2024-23, proposed Somerset Park Apartments, Administration and Learning Center, and new golf cart storage garage, east of Coolidge, south of Big Beaver. Address is 2401 Gulf View, John R. PIN 88-20-29-176-002, Section 29. It's currently zoned multiple family zoning district. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Carlisle.
Yes, thank you. So there's a little history of this site and a little history of this development. In 2018, the Somerset apartment owners came before the Planning Commission and requested a rezoning of essentially a 1.3 acre area of the golf course. It's the area outlined in red. The golf course is outlined in blue. And the reason for that was, at the time, that portion in red was also zoned R1C. And the applicant wanted to come in and get site plan approval to redo the clubhouse and put a leasing office complex on the site. So R1C didn't permit that use. MF did. The Planning Commission rezoned the site to MF, however, kept the remaining portions of the golf course site zoned, I think it's actually R1C. So in 2019, the applicant, after rezoning, came back into the Planning Commission and sought approval of an 18,000 square foot clubhouse with leasing office, and that was again approved in 2019. However, that site plan has since expired. The applicant is back before you tonight with basically an extension, a reapplication, whatever you want to term it, but a reapproval of the use of that site for a clubhouse / facility. The location of the building, the parking lot, the layout is pretty much exactly the same. The only thing we do note is the proposed building that I'm going to show you is slightly larger. It's about 21,000 square feet, I believe. And there's some changes in the architecture and materials. In addition, the applicant is including a golf cart storage building, which was not in the previous approvals. So the building is outlined in red. Again, it's a pro shop and leasing facility on the main level, and the administration offices on the second level. In addition, there's a 2,900 golf cart storage garage, which is located south of the proposed new improvements. Other improvements to the site, including a revamping of an entire landscape plan for this for the parking lot area in the building, lighting improvements, as well as an addition of this parking lot itself. The layout is oriented towards Gulfview Drive, and it's really the terminus point of where Lakeview Drive runs into Gulfview Drive. So it's really a nice view as you come down Lakeview of this proposed building. There's a drop-off area in front of the building, but a majority of the parking area is actually located at the side of the building. And we do note that it does meet all of the MF multifamily district requirements with regards to bulk regulations. The applicant is required 83 spaces. They are providing 99. It is within the purview to be allowed for the parking increase. We do note, though, however, they have not shown on the site plan any bicycle parking. And in addition, there is a requirement to provide a loading zone. We don't think a loading zone is necessarily warranted or needed for this type of facility, and the Planning Commission can grant a waiver to that loading space requirement. As noted, the applicant is providing a very robust and new landscape plan for the site. It is compliant with all the ordinance requirements. One thing I do want to highlight is they've proposed a very attractive entrance feature off of Gulfview, again, at that terminus of Lakeview. It includes a stamped concrete, landscaping, sitting area, multiple flagpoles, et cetera. So it's a really nice statement piece into the site. We do note, and it doesn't really show up here, I don't know the laser, do I? If you can see, the applicant, so there's a really nice pro shop in this kind of corner. They're proposing a nice outdoor patio seating area that kind of looks out on the golf course. They are proposing a 3-foot tall masonry wall around this patio area. The elevation for that wasn't provided, so we are asking for a little detail on what that wall is going to look like. And in addition, we could not indicate where a trash enclosure is on the site. I don't know if it's internal somehow, it's the building, but we are asking where trash is going to be stored. This is a rendering of the building. This is the front elevation. This is what's going to be facing Gulfview. It's a brick first floor with a metal paneling upper story. This is the rear of the site, which would face the golf course. This is where that pro shop is and the kind of the patio areas in this location. And this is a rendering of the golf cart shed. It's proposed a split face block with a pre-finished metal siding and roof. So in summary, Planning Commission is to consider the loading space waiver and if the site plan standards have been met. If the Planning Commission does approve the preliminary site plan, we recommend items be addressed as part of the final site plan, bicycle parking, details of the masonry knee wall, and trash enclosure location and details. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlisle. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Carlisle before we invite the applicant up? All right. If you'd like to come on up and sign in.
Good evening. My name is Scott Snow. I'm the applicant for Somerset Park Apartments. Thank you. So this building is a continuation. It's a much different building than what we proposed in 2018. Mostly it's a much more modernized version. We went back to the renderings. We had the luxury of COVID breaking up our project to really rethink the design and the use of the building. We've also expanded our needs. Our footprint, our real estate footprint has changed in the area, and so therefore we have a lot more supporting staff that we will be having in this building. Those roles will be in the second story of the building. They'll essentially act as a corporate office for us, while we'll have our leasing, administration, and golf operations on the first floor. For those that are not familiar with the prior project that was approved, similar use, however, just really the feel of it has changed, and I guess the flow of the space and all those things have changed. So, and currently operations of the property are bifurcated. So we have a sales operation on one side of the property towards Crooks. We have an administrative function on the other side of the property towards Coolidge, and in the middle we have a 50-something-year-old temporary pro shop. So we're really looking to put all those things together and bring those, really just modernize our operations.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering, what's going to happen to the leasing and the other two offices?
So as part of our, we've owned the property since 2015, and so we've put probably about between $40 and $50 million back into the community with unit renovations, and most recently we did a $3.5 million renovation to our newly branded Lifestyle Center, which will be opening on September 18th. We've actually invited Mayor Ethan Baker to come and help us do a ribbon cutting. We have a large, the parcel at the south of the property, we have a large park, essentially. It's like a 16-acre parcel. So from end to end, we've completely redeveloped it. So it used to be a park with a small playground and a little bit of equipment. We used to have a rec building, which was basically leased out for like baby showers. We had some old tennis courts that were really kind of old and fences were falling down. And then we had an old baseball diamond. And so we've redeveloped that entire area. We put in all new tennis courts. We took out 8, put back 6, and then 3 pickleball courts. Completely, ground up, did that. And then we turned our baseball diamond into a cricket pitch. We added a soccer pitch. A lot of our residents prefer cricket over baseball, so we listened to our residents. And then we put in about a $250,000 multi-age playground. We've bolstered our other park facilities, new benches, grills, sand volleyball, things of that nature. And then the centerpiece of that is our lifestyle center, which includes we took our old building, we added about 1,100 square feet. This is all approved, by the way. And we have a state-of-the-art fitness center. We have a cafe. We have a game room. And it all surrounds one of our swimming pools. We have 5 swimming pools. So this is really just the reimagination since we purchased the property of like what Somerset once was and what it could be again. To answer your question, we'll rebrand those buildings as well. Once we build this building, we move into it, we'll probably make combination additional amenity spaces where people can rent space out, people could rent space like a WeWork space, maybe do some dog walk. Like the possibilities are endless, and we have a lot of conceptual ideas, which will come to fruition eventually once we're able to move into this building.
I love that you're looking to turn those spaces into more amenities for your tenants as opposed to turning them into just more units for density. So
it's the
that's
name of the
awesome.
game. You have to have amenities. The last speaker, we actually are strange real estate bedfellows, obviously with the Somerset project. We also own a property in front of the Apex. It's beautiful. Begrudgingly, but we own 328 units behind it, but very happy for them, and it's the name of the game. You have to have amenities.
Yeah, sounds like it. All right, I'm going to open it up to questions. Mr. Fox.
So first off, I will say as a former tenant, you guys run a good ship.
Thank you.
I will say we lived there for about 3 years. We had a great time while we were there. Very walkable. Now, so when you're talking about a pro shop, you're talking about like a commercial, like it's selling golf related like products and whatnot for the golfers who are on the course.
Correct. We currently have a pro shop there that supports the golf course operations. It's very small. If you blink, you'll miss it.
Yeah.
It's actually on this site. So part of this site will be redeveloped into parking where it currently sits, and we'll put the building off to the west of the current pro shop site.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. It was a temporary building 50-something years ago that has stayed. So.
Mr. Lambert.
Well, first, this is a major improvement over what you presented before. The one presented before was nice, but this is really nice. So
It was a little Jetsons, yeah.
very nice. The question we have to debate is whether to give you a waiver for loading space. And so what kind of vehicles would be dropping off supplies at your location?
Very minimally commercial vehicles, really office supply trucks. I mean, that's really it. There's no other, there are no other functions. We don't even house our own chemicals for the golf course, so there's no large trucks or anything like that. We'll be dropping stuff like that off.
And I saw on the blueprints that you have a golf simulator in that building.
We do,
there? Okay.
yeah.
All right.
It'll help during the winter months.
Yeah, okay, great.
And it's another amenity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yep, Mr. Faison.
So, buildings is great improvement. I used to play that course with my son when he was younger, so the improvement is welcome. I was curious, you mentioned the improvements to the public spaces. Are you improving the golf course at all as part of this?
Not wholesale, but I mean, we may have to improve like the first tee, because this building is really like abutted to the first tee, but it's actually supposed to, the way we have it conceptually is that the carts will line up and kind of go, there's like a circular, like a little bit of a circular thing behind the building there, and so we'll kind of line the carts up there. Golfers can come out and just go off on their way, whereas right now they walk out and kind of do a weird jog and then go to the first tee. So we may also improve the cart paths because roots and, things like that over time, Mother Nature takes its course. So we probably will improve the car paths as well. But changing the holes or, orientations or anything like that, it's really not something that's in the works.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Buechner.
I live on one side of it and I work on the other side of it. So I know this space really well. Good job on updating what you've done. This looks like a great update. We're allowed to ask questions, but I want to ask, how many units approximately and how full are you guys right now?
2,226 units, and we're 95.5% occupied.
Good job.
Yeah, it's, we're leading the market. The Detroit market is hovering about 91% right now.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Mr. Cox.
The planning office mentioned trash enclosures. Do you care to comment on that?
Yeah, for sure. So we actually, we obviously have a golf course and we have apartments completely surrounding the golf course. So as it exists now, all of those apartment buildings that are around the golf course, mostly because of the smallness of the parking lots, we actually don't have any dumpsters in any of those lots either. We have valet trash. So we have a company that we have that brings the trash out of the buildings. We have receptacles in each building. Several times a week, they come and empty the trash. And then we have a compactor back at our maintenance facility. So we're hoping to not have an enclosure, but we're, obviously open to it.
So you're using a trash valet to remove trash from your building?
Yep.
So you don't need a...
We have an on-site compactor at our maintenance area, so at the south of the property.
So, yeah, go ahead, please.
I guess the question is then, you're going to do the same service with this building, you would not have an outdoor need for an outdoor trash?
Yeah, just like all of our apartment buildings around the golf course. We don't have any dumpsters on those either.
Okay. So maybe just as a condition of, instead of the condition approval of outside, just the condition should be maintaining the internal trash valet program that they have for the rest of the sites.
Right. Yeah, either that or maybe it could be worded, there will not be an outdoor trash receptacle.
Sure, I think that could work too.
I mean, right, because if they do, then it's got to be enclosed.
Yeah, and this building will be managed by our housekeeping staff, our on-site housekeeping staff that are part of our payroll, so.
Okay.
Daily, so. I think, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, the other two things that the planning office mentioned were the barrier, the wall. Yep. And then the bicycle parking.
Yes, our architect who is not here, they do have that question. We can provide additional detail for the 3-foot wall, and also we'll add bike parking. That was actually, I can't believe we missed that because we made such a big deal on the last iteration of this building about bike parking. So we'll obviously add that. We also have some spaces for electric car charging and things like that. So.
Could you at least describe a little bit about the wall, because we're going to want to make a decision for you?
Sure. I think we were thinking like an open-faced brick, similar to the materials that are on the building, so it will match.
Okay. 3 feet high and about how thick?
Approximately 18 inches.
Okay.
He's the construction guy, not me. I'm
Thank
the business
you.
guy.
Anything? Yep, Mr. Cagle.
I think the building is very nice. The architects have done a nice job, the massing, the fenestration. We don't have any materials here, just to actually show the colors, and I understand that, looking at a computer screen, the colors maybe aren't as true as they could be. What I would and I don't know if these are the final selection of colors, but it just seems like it's a very quiet palette of colors that could be maybe enhanced a little bit, and I'm not talking about going crazy.
Sure.
Just, the energy that comes off of the building right now, just in its massing and its shapes, I think could be enhanced a little bit with maybe some different colors. Maybe it's just tonal changes. But I think I'd like to see you consider that.
Sure. We're happy to do that. Final selections have not been made. Our designer is working on that along with our architect. I will say the prior iteration of this building, I think some of the comments were that it was slightly too colorful, so we muted them a little bit. There was a lot going on with that other building. There was a lot of curves and weird stuff, so we did kind of mute it back a little bit, but it doesn't have to be austere by any means.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the palette you've selected is a very quiet palette, the browns and the tans and stuff, and I think, you've got it's been presented, you've got a great visual location here. And
Yeah.
it would just be nice to have that building pop a little bit behind the landscaping,
Mhm.
which is very nice. But that would be my encouragement to you.
Well, and inspirationally for us also, we're dealing with apartments that are 60 years old, and we're not trying to match the 60-year-olds, right? Like we're trying, but we don't want it to look like the Jetsons, like some of the comments had been in the past about the other iterations. So we're trying to balance that a little bit but also make something that can end up being somewhat, nothing's timeless, but somewhat timeless, right? Like where we look at it in 10 or 15 years, and we're here forever, we hope. By the way, we're not in and out people, investors. So we want to look at this in 15 years and go, hey, we're still pretty happy about that.
Yeah, sure.
Since you're going to be removing the flower arrangement with the flags, et cetera, at the end of Lakeview, I see in your drawing there's some kind of like a square thing that's tilted like a diamond. Is that, what's going to be there? I can't.
The final decisions haven't been made, but we'll probably incorporate the Somerset S, which you see all over everything Somerset. We'll probably incorporate something like that into stamped concrete or some kind of a brick paver pattern.
Okay, so is it raised? I mean, you're going to see, obviously you're going to have to see it. But I'm just
I think what you're talking about is part of like the drive, like the circle drive.
There's an island, you got drives going in and out. I don't know what slide that is, but it's a plan view of it just says proposed two-story administration building, and it's not in color, but I just wanted to know, since it's a central focus as you're driving from Big Beaver down Lakeview, and it used to be, 3 flagpoles and floral arrangements, and I'm just wondering what that new look is going to be.
I don't think that's been settled yet. That's like settled design, but I can tell you that the flagpoles will be substantial as much as the FAA will allow us, being close to the airport, and obviously the landscaping, similar to all the rest of our landscaping, all of our boulevards are obviously beautiful. It'll be a splash.
Okay.
We'll also, what's not in there is probably we'll come back for approval is the some monument signage as well, which will obviously dress up with landscaping.
All right, thanks.
I had a couple of comments.
Okay.
So we haven't really talked about the shed.
Mhm.
That's a new addition,
Yep.
apparently. I don't love it. I mean,
We don't either.
I understand it's necessary. It looks to me like it's larger than what's currently there. And it just seems really plain and drab and unattractive, almost like an eyesore. So I don't know if there's anything you can do to sort of match it to your building, the new building that's going to be there. If whether it's the materials you use, I get it, you don't want to be putting a ton of money in a shed.
Sure.
But some sort of, I don't know if the word is fenestration, but something, windows, just something at the top, anything to make it blend in a little bit better, or alternatively, landscape the heck out of that area so it's really covered.
Yeah, so a lot of the landscaping that's there, the mature landscaping, there's a lot of evergreens and pines and large mature things around it. Those will stay. So the idea is that it's screened and you can't see it, because we don't love the idea of building this beautiful modern building and then people looking out and seeing a shed either. Like you said, it's obviously necessary, and like operations have changed where we used to have gas carts that could just sit outside all day and all night. Now we have electric carts. We need a place to charge them indoors. We need a place to store them in the winter and things like that. There are several smaller buildings now that we put our lawn equipment in and things of that nature. We have some sprinkler pump equipment. They really just no longer serve the purpose that we need, and we need something that's kind of all encompassing. So on that pad there, the idea is to knock down what's there and just encompass it with that new building. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but it will be mostly screened with landscaping.
Okay.
Whether it's existing mature landscaping and then adding additional landscaping as well.
Okay, I mean, that would probably take care of it for me.
Yeah.
Another.
We don't, I mean, we hate it too, don't get me, but it's necessary, like you said.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the analogy is, you know, a person who builds a huge house with a 4-car garage, and then they still have a shed with a couple more garages. It's like a mini house. I mean, the way they put a lot of money in it, and it matches and it complements. But I understand here, it's going to be set back, it's going to be screened, so I'm okay with that. The other concern I had was the tree preservation. It does look like you're getting rid of 38 trees, 5 which are regulated. And then we're over-parked on top of it by, I don't have the number, but
16 spots, I think.
about 16 spots. Is there anything that can be done about maybe shrinking a row of parking to save some of those trees? It seemed like there were trees along that north side that were X'd out.
Yep. Yeah, we're open to that. We can definitely look at that and
Okay, because I think
obviously.
there were I don't know if they were the regulated trees. It was hard for me. I have a hard time understanding how to read those tree maps, but I
Yeah.
see the X's where they're taking them down.
Yeah.
And if it did seem like a possibility, so if you're open to that.
We are, yeah, and there's a lot along that cart path. You can kind of see the cart path. There's a lot of very mature trees along that cart path as it approaches the building. Those are staying, those are not
Okay.
leaving. So I'm surprised to hear that there's so many trees being removed, but absolutely. I mean, it's a golf course. We have to
Yeah.
make it beautiful.
I drove over there just today, and it was beautiful. It was really foggy, but there were so many trees in that area, and I kept wondering, gosh, is this going to be one of the trees that comes down? They were really mature, and I'd hate to see that. So,
Yeah. We're open to adding some additional trees if we need to, and maybe adjusting the parking
Okay.
as well. Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk to our landscape architect.
okay. Yes, Mr. Tagle.
I want to follow up on what Ms. Paraka said about the ugly duckling. No, I think one of the things that might help that building, I talked about the massing of your new building, and it may be just the roof shape of this building that makes it seem like it's your utilitarian shed, which it is, but if you can, enhance that a little bit visually, that might help, whether it's a low slope roof or whether it's a clear story, like 2 pitches of roof coming up with a clear story to give you some natural light in there, I think would help just in appearance of that building.
Okay, yeah, we'll incorporate that feedback.
Thanks for bringing that up from an expert, because you said it much better than me, but it's that roof that
Yeah.
did it for me.
Sure.
It's just,
It's very utilitarian.
yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
understood.
Does anyone have any other questions for the applicant before we discuss? All right, thank you very much for
Thank you.
being here. Yep.
Appreciate it.
All right, I'll open it up for discussion. As far as my notes tell me, they talked about the trash enclosure. It's up to us if we're satisfied with the wall. He's going to add a bike parking, and I'm comfortable with the loading space deviation, but I don't know what others think. Mr. Fox?
Well, so not on the loading space deviation specifically, which I will say I think it's appropriate for this situation to waive the loading space. But on the topic of potentially removing some parking to preserve some trees, would that, I'm just trying to imagine how you word it into a motion, something to the effect of an amended, what's the word?
Landscape plan?
Landscaping plan, yeah, an amended landscaping plan that reflects a decrease in parking. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to word that into a motion succinctly. I do like the idea of preserving some of the trees, though.
Can I ask Mr. Savadan or Mr. Carlisle, in terms of a motion, if we want to proceed with the motion today, are you guys comfortable based on the discussions we've had, or do you think it's something that needs to come back to us?
So about 15 seconds ago, Ben turned to me and whispered in my ear, "We can take care of this administratively if they let us." It's your call, but we're both. I agree. I didn't have a chance to turn and say, "Yeah, we can. We've heard everything that was said. The applicants heard everything that was said. We can administratively proceed with this."
Okay, that's great to know. I mean, I appreciated everything you said, and it seemed like you understood and you're willing to work with us. So I'm comfortable with that personally. Mr. Lambert?
Based upon that input, I think I can propose a motion here, and
That would be great.
don't anyone second it until I make sure we have it right, so. All right, resolved that the preliminary site condominium approval pursuant to Article 8 of the zoning ordinance, as requested for the proposed Somerset Park Apartments, Administration and Learning Center and new golf cart storage garage east of Coolidge, south of Big Beaver, which is 2401 Golf View. John R., I think that's a mistake in there.
Yeah.
Okay, just Golf View, PIN 88-20-29-176-002, Section 29, currently zoned MF Multiple Family Zoning District, be approved with the following conditions: provide bicycle parking, provide a masonry knee wall according to the voluntarily offered by the applicant, no outside trash container or enclosure. Let's see, we approved the loading space waiver, and let's see what else I have. Work with city staff to enhance building colors and adjust parking to save some trees on the site, and also work with city staff to modify the shed.
Good job.
I'll second that.
I like that.
Let the record show the applicant was nodding his head.
The John R. is a typo, right? That's what's on there, okay.
Is that my first typo in my career?
Well, just for Ms. Zarnicki's, that got caught.
I hate to be that guy, but it also says learning center when I think it's meant to say leasing center. Okay.
Oh, geez.
Let
Yeah,
the record
I
show
saw
it should
that.
be leasing center.
Well, because I read it also into the record incorrectly, and I did pause for a second at the John R. I don't think I caught the learning
Is
center.
it a condominium approval?
All right, move on.
We got a couple things stricken.
Ms. Zarnicki will have to edit it for me.
Oh, geez. Okay, so we have a motion. It's been seconded by Mr. Krent, I believe. Any discussion? There was one thought I had. We left it vague about the shed.
Yeah, we just said city staff would work with the applicant on the shed to it.
And you know what we're looking at,
The roof line.
the roof line. And, you know, adequate landscaping around. Okay. All right, does anyone else have anything, or are we ready for the roll call? All right, Ms. Zarnicki, I think we're ready.
Okay. Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krent?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Malala
Yes?
Ms. Parakis?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Mr. Biegner?
Yes.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we're moving on to our next item, which is public comment for items that are on the agenda. So if anyone is here tonight that wants to speak about something that's on the agenda, please come forward now. All right, we are going to close that, and we are going to move on to Planning Commission comment, and I'm going to start with Mr. Tagle.
I'm good tonight,
Yeah,
thank you.
Mr. Krent?
Nothing.
Malaha?
I just want to say, it's nice to have a younger person like Mr. Fox on the commission who has no knowledge of what the Kmart is. I'm sure one of us will show afterwards, so,
We'll take care of field trip.
yes.
Mr. Faison?
Yeah, just a question. So Brent, you circulated that information on the housing types that were approved in the last few years. I was wondering if there was going to be more information shared, maybe putting that in some kind of context, like you're saying, yes, Ben?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr.
I'd be curious to
Yes,
know the
Mr.
numbers.
Just don't
Carlisle.
make any typographical errors. They jump all over you.
Well, it is kind of karma because Brent is always getting on me for typographical errors, so it's a little karma. Yes, we are preparing. We've done a lot of data searching, and we're preparing. I'm just trying to. I guess we'll get something to you shortly. I'm just trying to think through my head about how we're going to organize that to be understandable to you. So yeah, something will be coming forthcoming with more information.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hudson?
Nothing.
Mr. Biegner? Mr. Fox?
So two quick things. First off, kind of going off of Mr. Faison's comment, I know one piece of data that I'm sure a lot of folks are interested in is just a general comparison of multifamily versus single family across the city. So I have full confidence that you guys will present a great report. I just know that's one of the data sets that, or one of the comparison data that I've been interested in seeing. The other thing I wanted to say is that if anyone does attend that Apex walkthrough, I will be working. So please feel free to take pictures and have staff circulate them to the rest of the Planning Commission, because that would be very nice to see. And I have since Googled the Kmart head, and I want it read into the record that it is terrifying. It is very strange.
Ms. Dufresne?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Savinat?
I made a couple typos in the resolution, admittedly, but I do want to clarify, and I was looking it up frantically here because I was 100% positive the application did say Learning Center, and then Jackie, who's in the office watching on YouTube, said, the application does say Learning Center. So I'm going to deflect the blame there.
They have the golf simulator.
Just a really quick story that I got to thinking when Mr. Forbes was presenting, and when I first started here 22 years ago, I was living in Lapeer and I was driving here, commuting to work from Lapeer. It was miserable. But when I first started here, people were asking me, like, what do you think of Somerset? You know, have you been to Somerset yet? And one day I was talking and to Mark and one of the Planning Commission members at the time, and I said, I don't know why people keep talking about Somerset. It's just a mall. And the Planning Commissioner jumped on me and said, do not call it a mall. I'm like, why? He says, have you been there? I said, not yet. He said, you need to go there. I went there. It's not a mall. It's a collection. I get it. It's awesome. It was really cool to see Nate present tonight and to really see how he spoke from the heart, and I really appreciated that. That was really cool. So.
Thank you. Mr. Carlisle? Yeah, I mean, just to echo what you said, it was amazing, and it's nice that he's so dedicated and committed to the area, and he's going to be here for the long haul, and he's got even a bigger vision for how he's going to acquire the fourth corner, and that's very promising, and it makes us feel good. The only other thing I wanted to say or ask is if you could forward that information, if he sends it to you for the invitation for Thursday at 4, because I think some of us would love to go see that.
Will do.
Thank you. All right. Good night, everyone.
Night.
We are adjourned.